They dog slept in the girl's graveyard every day for 7 years, but the truth behind it made everyone froze. The small town of Willow Creek was known for its tranquil streets, friendly neighbors, and an old cemetery nestled on the edge of town. But for the past 7 years, something extraordinary had turned the otherwise unassuming cemetery into a place of quiet reverence. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a golden retriever named Max would trot through the wrought iron gates, his coat gleaming like liquid gold in the fading light. He would weave through the headstones until he reached a specific grave, a modest stone etched with the name Lily Harper. Max would settle beside the grave, his head resting gently against the cold stone. Rain, snow, or shine, he was always there. Locals who passed by would pause, their hearts tugged by the sight of the loyal dog keeping vigil for the girl he had loved so dearly. Max hadn't always belonged to Lily. He had spent the early years of his life in a shelter after being abandoned as a puppy. While the shelter workers adored his friendly demeanor and playful nature, Max's golden coat and bright eyes couldn't hide the sadness of a dog longing for a family. Then one fateful summer day, Lily walked through the shelter doors. At just 15 years old, Lily had begged her parents for years to let her adopt a dog. That summer, after earning money from babysitting jobs, her parents finally relented. When she saw Max sitting quietly in his kennel, his tail wagging hesitantly, she knew he was the one. "This is Max," the shelter worker said. "He's a sweetheart, but no one seems to want him." "I do," Lily said without hesitation, her eyes lighting up. From that moment, Max and Lily were inseparable. Lily Harper was the kind of person who left an impression on everyone she met. At just 17 years old, she had an old soul and a heart far bigger than her petite frame suggested. She had a natural affinity for animals, often volunteering at the local shelter on weekends. When she wasn't caring for animals, she was delivering meals to elderly neighbors, tutoring younger kids in math, or organizing charity bake sales with her friends. "She has a gift," her mother often said. "She sees the good in everything and everyone." Lily's bond with Max became the cornerstone of her life. Whether it was playing fetch in the park, cuddling on the couch during thunderstorms, or sneaking him bits of her dinner, their love for each other was undeniable. But their time together was tragically cut short. One rainy evening in late October, Lily was riding her bike home from a friend's house when a car skidded on the slick road and struck her. She was rushed to the hospital, but her injuries were too severe. Lily passed away that night, leaving her family and friends shattered, and Max utterly lost. In the days following her death, Max refused to eat or play. He would sit by the door, his ears perked at every sound, as if waiting for Lily to walk through. Her scent lingered in the house, and Max would rest his head on her bed, his eyes filled with confusion and sorrow. After Lily's funeral, Max disappeared from the house. Her family was frantic, searching every street and alley in Willow Creek. But Max had found his way to the cemetery, to the place where Lily's body now rested. At first, the Harpers tried to bring him home, but Max would slip away again, returning to the grave. Eventually, they stopped trying. "It's where he wants to be," Lily's father said quietly, watching Max from a distance. Word of Max's vigil spread quickly. Locals who frequented the cemetery began leaving food and water for him, their hearts touched by his unwavering loyalty. Some would stop to sit beside him, sharing stories about Lily, as if to keep her memory alive, for the dog who refused to forget. One winter night, a fierce snowstorm swept through the town, blanketing the cemetery in thick drifts. The next morning, when the storm cleared, Max was still there, his golden coat dusted with snow, his body curled tightly against Lily's grave. "He's not just a dog," an elderly woman said, her voice quivering. "He's a guardian." Despite the town's adoration for Max, there was one mystery that no one could quite explain. Max always seemed to gravitate toward one specific corner of Lily's grave. He would paw at the ground there occasionally, his nose pressed into the soil as if searching for something. Some chalked it up to instinct, while others believed it was his way of feeling closer to Lily. But the truth behind Max's actions remained hidden, a truth that would only come to light years later, revealing the depth of the bond between a girl and her dog. Max's story was more than just a tale of loyalty. It was a reminder of the profound connections we share with the animals who walk through life beside us. And as Max continued his nightly vigil, the people of Willow Creek couldn't help but wonder, was it grief, love, or something greater that kept him there? Little did they know, the answer would leave them speechless. The routine began the morning after Lily's funeral. As the first rays of sunlight broke over Willow Creek, Max slipped out through the open back door of the Harper family home. He padded silently through the quiet streets, past rows of houses, until he reached the wrought iron gates of the cemetery. It was as though he had a map in his heart, guiding him to Lily's grave. There, beneath the headstone etched with her name and the simple phrase, "Forever loved," Max lay down. His golden fur gleamed in the morning light, his head resting on the damp earth, as if willing himself closer to her. That first day, Max stayed until the evening. The Harpers eventually found him and brought him home, but it was clear that he had no intention of staying. Every morning, Max returned to the cemetery, rain or shine, and every evening he refused to leave until someone came for him. At first, the Harpers tried to keep Max at home, thinking his grief would subside with time, but Max's resolve never wavered. Eventually, Lily's parents, overwhelmed by their own grief, stopped trying to stop him. "Loved her more than anyone," Lily's mother whispered one night. "If this is how he heals, then let him." It didn't take long for the rest of the town to notice Max's daily journey. Willow Creek was a small place where news spread quickly, and Max's vigil became the subject of quiet admiration and whispered conversations. People passing the cemetery would stop to watch him, moved by his silent loyalty. "He's there again," a florist remarked one day, peering out the window of her shop. "It doesn't matter if it's pouring rain or freezing cold, he's always there." Soon, residents began leaving offerings for Max. Bowls of food and water appeared by Lily's grave, along with small blankets in the colder months. Children would visit to pet him, their parents explaining that Max was Lily's dog and that he missed her terribly. "Doesn't just miss her," one man observed. "It's like he's protecting her, even now." One summer, a brutal heat wave swept through Willow Creek. The sun beat down mercilessly, turning the cemetery's grass to brittle straw. Yet even in the oppressive heat, Max made his way to Lily's grave every day. A woman named Margaret, who lived near the cemetery, noticed Max panting heavily under the blazing sun. She brought him a dish of cool water and sat with him under the shade of a nearby tree. "You're a good boy," she said softly, stroking his fur. Margaret began visiting the cemetery more frequently, bringing snacks and checking on Max whenever she could. She wasn't the only one. Other townsfolk also stepped in, moved by Max's determination to stay by Lily's side. But no matter how much love and care the townspeople offered, Max's focus never wavered. As time passed, a few families in the town tried to adopt Max, thinking it might help him move on. One family took him home for a weekend, giving him a soft bed and plenty of attention. But on Monday morning, Max was gone. By the time the family realized, Max was already back at Lily's grave, his tail wagging faintly, as if to say, "This is where I belong." Another family tried, only to find Max scratching at the door, howling until they let him out. "He's not just a dog," the father of the family said, shaking his head in amazement. "He's a soul, with a purpose." Eventually, the townspeople accepted that Max couldn't be adopted. The cemetery was his home now, and no one had the heart to separate him from it. Over the years, Max endured all kinds of weather. During heavy rainstorms, he would huddle under the shelter of a nearby tree, his eyes fixed on the headstone as if standing guard. In the winter, when snow blanketed the ground, Max would burrow into the snow beside Lily's grave, his golden fur dusted white. Once, during a particularly harsh winter, a passerby found Max shivering beside the grave, frost clinging to his coat. Alarmed, they wrapped him in a thick blanket and tried to coax him into their car. But Max refused to move. Instead, he stayed, his body pressed against the stone as though his warmth could reach Lily somehow. Max's dedication became a symbol of hope and love for the people of Willow Creek. The local newspaper ran a small piece about him, calling him Willow Creek's guardian angel. People from neighboring towns came to visit, drawn by the story of the dog who refused to leave his girl's side. Some brought flowers to Lily's grave, paying their respects to a girl they'd never met. Others left toys and treats for Max, touched by his loyalty. For many, Max's actions were a reminder of the power of love, unwavering, unconditional, and eternal. Despite the outpouring of support, there was one detail about Max's behavior that puzzled everyone. He didn't just lie beside Lily's grave, he always settled in the same corner, near the base of the headstone. Occasionally, he would paw at the ground there, his nose pressed to the soil, as if searching for something. A few townspeople speculated about his actions. Maybe he can still smell her scent, one man suggested. Or maybe he feels closer to her there, another added. Whatever the reason, Max's behavior only deepened the sense of mystery surrounding him. As the years passed, Max grew older, his golden fur tinged with gray, but his devotion to Lily never wavered. Children who had once petted Max by the grave grew up, bringing their own children to visit the loyal dog. Stories about him were passed down, and Lily's grave became a place of quiet pilgrimage. Through it all, Max remained steadfast, a living testament to the bond between a girl and her dog. And though no one could explain why Max stayed, everyone agreed on one thing. His love for Lily was something extraordinary, something that transcended time and space. What they didn't know was that Max's loyalty was tied to a secret buried deep beneath the earth, a secret that, when revealed, would leave them speechless. Sarah Miller, a young journalist working for a regional newspaper, had always been drawn to stories that spoke to the human heart. She had a knack for finding tales that could move even the coldest reader. And when she heard whispers about a dog named Max, who had spent years sleeping by a girl's grave, she knew she had to investigate. On her first visit to Willow Creek, Sarah was struck by the tranquility of the small town. It was the kind of place where time seemed to slow down, where people still stopped to greet one another on the street. But beneath the peaceful surface lay a story of loss, love, and unshakable loyalty that had captivated the community for years. Sarah arrived at the cemetery just as the sun was setting. The golden hues of the evening light bathed the headstones in a soft glow. And there, in the midst of it all, was Max. The aging golden retriever lay curled up beside a modest headstone marked with the name Lily Harper. A faint breeze ruffled his fur, but he didn't stir. Sarah approached cautiously, not wanting to startle him. She knelt a few feet away, pulling out her notebook and camera. "Hey, Max," she said softly. Max lifted his head slightly, his deep brown eyes meeting hers. There was a wisdom in his gaze, a depth of emotion that made Sarah's heart ache. For the next hour, she watched Max as he rested by the grave, occasionally sniffing the air or shifting his position. She noted how he seemed to gravitate toward a specific corner of the headstone, pressing his nose against the ground there. "That's interesting," Sarah murmured to herself, jotting down a note. The next day, Sarah began piecing together Lily's story. She visited the Harpers, who welcomed her into their cozy home. Photographs of Lily adorned the walls, snapshots of a bright-eyed girl with a radiant smile, often posing with Max at her side. "She was an incredible soul," Mrs. Harper said, her voice tinged with both pride and sadness. "She had this way of making everyone feel important. And Max, well, he was her shadow. They were inseparable." Mr. Harper added, "When she adopted Max, it was like they were meant to find each other. She always said he wasn't just a dog, he was family." As Sarah listened, she learned about the accident that had taken Lily's life, and how Max had begun his vigil at her grave shortly after. "We tried to bring him home," Mrs. Harper said, wiping away a tear. "But he always found his way back. It's like he's waiting for her." Armed with Lily's story, Sarah returned to the cemetery to observe Max again. This time, she brought a thermos of coffee and a blanket, prepared to stay until nightfall. As the hours passed, she noticed a pattern. Max didn't just lie by the grave, he focused on one specific corner. Occasionally he would sniff the ground intently, his tail wagging faintly as if he were onto something. Sometimes he would paw at the soil, though not enough to disturb it. Sarah's curiosity grew. Why that spot? She began asking around town, speaking to the people who visited the cemetery regularly. "I've seen him do it," said Margaret, the woman who often brought Max food. "Always the same corner. It's like he knows something we don't." "Maybe it's her scent," another person suggested. But Sarah wasn't convinced. Determined to uncover the truth, Sarah delved deeper into Lily's life. She read through school records, spoke with her friends, and even tracked down the shelter where she had adopted Max. The more she learned, the more she admired Lily. She wasn't just a girl who loved animals. She had been deeply empathetic, going out of her way to help anyone in need. "She had this way of making everyone feel special," said Lily's best friend, Jenna. "And Max, he wasn't just her pet. She used to call him her guardian angel." But the mystery of Max's behavior at the grave remained unsolved. One afternoon, as Sarah combed through old belongings the Harpers had kept in storage, she stumbled upon a box labeled Lily's Letters. Inside were dozens of notes, some addressed to friends, others to her parents, and a few written to Max. In one letter, dated just a week before her death, Lily wrote, "To my dearest Max, if anything ever happens to me, I want you to know how much I love you. You've been my best friend, my protector, my everything. I have something special for you. It's buried beneath the tree in the park where we always played. I hope you find it someday." Sarah's heart raced as she read the words. The park, the tree. Was it possible Max had been searching for something all along? But then another thought struck her. What if Lily had left something similar at her grave? Sarah shared her findings with the Harpers, who were both intrigued and emotional. Together, they decided to visit the cemetery to see if there was more to Max's behavior than met the eye. With the help of a groundskeeper, they carefully examined the corner of the grave where Max always lay. The soil was soft from years of rain and weather, but it hadn't been disturbed deeply. Max watched intently as they began to dig, his tail wagging slowly. Just a few inches below the surface, the groundskeeper's spade hit something solid. Sarah knelt down and carefully unearthed a small metal box. It was rusted from time but still intact. Inside were several folded pieces of paper, each one bearing Lily's handwriting. The Harpers gasped as they unfolded the notes. They were letters Lily had written before her death, messages of love, gratitude, and hope, addressed to her family, friends, and, most poignantly, to Max. "To my sweet Max, I know you'll never leave me, not even when I'm gone. Thank you for being my guardian angel. I love you more than words can say." Tears streamed down Sarah's face as she read the letters. It was clear that Lily had understood the depth of Max's devotion long before anyone else. As the group sat in silence, processing the discovery, Max lay down beside the grave, resting his head near the now opened corner. For 7 years he had been drawn to the spot, not out of instinct, but out of a bond so deep that it transcended life and death. And for Sarah, the story of Max and Lily wasn't just a tale of loyalty. It was a testament to the power of love, the kind that leaves an indelible mark on all who witness it. The next step was clear. Sarah would share this story with the world, ensuring that Lily and Max's legacy would never be forgotten. The day was bright and crisp, with a gentle breeze rustling the trees around Willow Creek Cemetery. Sarah stood at Lily Harper's grave with the Harpers, Margaret, and a handful of curious townsfolk who had heard about the peculiar behavior of Max. The loyal golden retriever lay quietly beside the grave, his tail thumping faintly, as if he understood that something significant was about to happen. Sarah knelt down, brushing her hand over the soft earth where Max always lay. "It's here," she said, her voice steady but laced with emotion. The Harpers exchanged a glance. "Are we sure about this?" Lily's mother asked, her voice trembling. "We'll do it carefully," Sarah assured them. "If Max has been trying to show us something, we owe it to Lily to find out what it is." The cemetery groundskeeper, an elderly man named Frank, had brought a small spade and a gentle demeanor. As he began to dig, Max remained lying down, his eyes focused on the motion. Every now and then he let out a low whine, as though encouraging the group to keep going. A few inches below the surface, Frank's spade struck something solid. Everyone froze. "I think we've got something," Frank said, wiping his brow. With careful hands, Sarah reached into the hole and pulled out a small, rusted metal box. It was weathered and old, but the lid was still secure. "What is it?" Margaret asked, leaning closer. Sarah turned the box over in her hands, her heart pounding. Only one way to find out. The crowd around the grave held its collective breath as Sarah pried the lid open. Inside were several folded pieces of paper, yellowed with time, but miraculously intact. "These are letters," Sarah whispered, pulling them out gently. The first was addressed to Lily's parents. The second was to her best friend, Jenna. But it was the third letter, addressed simply to Max, that brought tears to everyone's eyes. "Can you read it?" Mrs. Harper asked, her voice breaking. Sarah nodded, her fingers trembling as she unfolded the letter. "To my sweet Max, if you're reading this, or if someone has found it, then I'm not there with you anymore. But I know you'll never leave me, even after I'm gone. That's just who you are, loyal, loving, and my very best friend. There's something I need you to know. I didn't tell anyone, not even my family, but I knew I was sick. I didn't want them to worry, so I kept it to myself. Max, you were my rock through it all. On the days when I felt weak, you made me feel strong. On the nights when I cried, you stayed by my side and reminded me that I wasn't alone. I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer, but I want you to promise me something. Stay true to who you are. Love fiercely, protect those you care about, and never forget how much you meant to me. I buried this letter here because I knew you'd find it someday. You've always known how to find me, haven't you? Thank you for being my guardian angel. With all my love, Lily." When Sarah finished reading, there wasn't a dry eye among the group. Mrs. Harper clutched her husband's hand tightly, her face wet with tears. Margaret sniffled quietly, while even Frank wiped at his eyes with the back of his hand. "Ah," said Frank, stretching and putting his hand on his husband's forearm. Max, as if understanding the significance of the moment, sat up and gently nosed the letter in Sarah's hand. His tail wagged faintly, and he let out a soft, mournful bark. "She knew," Mr. Harper said finally, his voice thick with emotion. "All this time, she knew. And she didn't tell us," Mrs. Harper added, her tone a mix of sadness and awe. "She didn't want us to suffer." The discovery of the letter changed everything. Max's behavior now made perfect sense. He wasn't just keeping vigil out of loyalty. He had been protecting the spot where Lily had left a piece of herself behind. She'd buried this for him, Sarah said, her voice trembling. She knew he'd find it, even after she was gone. It was a testament to the unbreakable bond between a girl and her dog, a love so pure that it defied time and even death. That night, the Harpers brought Max home, wrapping him in a warm blanket and feeding him his favorite meal. For the first time in years, Max seemed at peace. He curled up beside the fireplace, his head resting on Mrs. Harper's lap as she stroked his fur. The next day, Sarah returned to the cemetery to leave flowers at Lily's grave. She placed the box back in its resting place, covering it with soil as Max watched. The story of Lily's letters and Max's unwavering devotion spread quickly through Willow Creek. People visited the grave not just to honor Lily, but to marvel at the extraordinary love that had kept Max by her side for so long. For Sarah, the discovery wasn't just a story, it was a reminder of the profound connections that exist between humans and animals. For the Harpers, it was a bittersweet comfort, knowing that Lily had lived her final days surrounded by the love of her loyal companion. And for Max, it was a chance to fulfill the promise Lily had asked of him, to love, protect, and remember her, even when she was no longer there. The discovery of the letters didn't just reveal the truth, it cemented Lily and Max's bond as a symbol of love, loyalty, and the enduring power of memory. As the sun set over the cemetery, casting golden light over Lily's grave, Max lay down beside the headstone once more, his task complete, but his heart forever bound to the girl he had loved so deeply. When Sarah sat down to write Max and Lily's story, she knew it would resonate with people, but she couldn't have anticipated the magnitude of its impact. She poured her heart into the article, carefully recounting the details of Lily's life, her selflessness, and her bond with Max. She described the golden retriever's unwavering loyalty, the years he spent guarding Lily's grave, and the emotional discovery of her letters. The piece was titled "A Bond Beyond Life, The Dog Who Never Left," and it was published on the front page of the Willow Creek Times. The story spread quickly. Copies of the newspaper flew off the shelves, and people gathered in coffee shops and parks to talk about the tale of Max and Lily. Many readers said they couldn't get through the article without tears streaming down their faces. Margaret, who had long cared for Max at the cemetery, said, "It's a reminder of how much love animals bring into our lives. They're not just pets, they're family." The Harpers were inundated with letters and calls from neighbors expressing their condolences and admiration for Lily. One woman dropped off a bouquet of lilies at their doorstep with a note that read, "Your daughter's love will never be forgotten." Max became a local legend. People from neighboring towns began visiting Lily's grave to leave flowers and toys for Max. Children brought drawings of golden retrievers, tucking them into the soil as tokens of love. At the same time, something remarkable began to happen in Willow Creek. Inspired by the story, residents started paying closer attention to the animals in their lives. Pet adoptions at the local shelter increased dramatically. Families who had hesitated to adopt found themselves moved by the story of Lily and Max and decided to give a stray animal a second chance. "I couldn't stop thinking about it," said one woman as she picked up a tabby cat from the shelter. "If Max could show so much love and loyalty, the least I can do is give an animal a home." The story didn't just change how people treated animals, it also made them reflect on their relationships with each other. One father, inspired by the letters Lily left behind, started writing small notes to his children, tucking them into their lunchboxes. "I don't want to wait until it's too late to tell them how much I love them," he said. A teacher at the local elementary school used the story as part of her lesson plan. She asked her students to write letters to someone they cared about, just as Lily had written to Max. The children embraced the idea wholeheartedly, their desks covered in colorful scraps of paper as they scribbled messages to their parents, friends, and pets. "I learned that it's important to say, 'I love you,'" one little girl told Sarah later. The cemetery, once a quiet and somber place, became a hub of kindness and remembrance. People came not just to pay their respects, but to find solace in Max's story. One Sunday, a local artist painted a mural on the cemetery wall, depicting Max lying beside Lily's grave under a glowing sunset. Beneath the image, the words, "Love never leaves," were written in flowing script. The mural became a symbol of the town's newfound appreciation for love, loyalty, and the fleeting nature of time. Through it all, Max remained the same, steadfast and humble, as if unaware of the lives he had touched. He continued his daily visits to Lily's grave, though now he was often joined by visitors who sat beside him in quiet reflection. Sarah became one of those visitors. Whenever she found herself overwhelmed or uncertain, she would sit by the grave, Max's warm presence a reminder of the simple yet profound beauty of love. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah looked down at Max and smiled. "You've done more for this town than anyone could have imagined," she said softly. Max wagged his tail faintly, his eyes filled with quiet understanding. The article's success brought Sarah more recognition than she had ever received before, but she didn't see it as her story. "This wasn't about me," she told a colleague. "It was about Lily and Max, and what they taught us about love and loyalty." The experience also changed Sarah personally. She adopted a rescue dog, a scrappy terrier mix she named Harper, in honor of Lily. Together they often visited the cemetery to sit by Max and reflect on the lessons they had learned. As the weeks turned into months, the ripples of Max and Lily's story continued to spread. Donations to animal shelters increased, and local schools incorporated lessons on kindness and compassion. Max had become more than just a dog. He was a symbol of the love that connects all living beings, a reminder to cherish those we hold dear. And for Willow Creek, he was proof that even the smallest acts of love could leave a lasting impact. As Sarah looked out over the cemetery one last time, watching Max rest peacefully by Lily's grave, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. The story of Max and Lily wasn't just a tale of grief. It was a testament to the enduring power of love and the legacy it leaves behind. The morning of the memorial was crisp and bright, the kind of day that felt like a gift from above. The townsfolk of Willow Creek gathered at the cemetery, their faces solemn but full of warmth. At the center of it all was Max, lying peacefully beside Lily's grave, his golden coat shining in the sunlight. The Harpers stood near the headstone, holding hands tightly. Lily's mother had tears in her eyes, but a smile on her lips, a bittersweet expression of pride and longing. Sarah stood beside them, clutching a framed photo of Lily and Max, taken just a few months before Lily's passing. "This isn't just a memorial," she had told the Harpers earlier. "It's a celebration of their love and everything they taught us." The ceremony began with Margaret, the elderly woman who had cared for Max over the years, stepping forward. Her voice, though shaky with emotion, carried across the crowd. "Lily wasn't just a girl from this town," she said, her tone reverent. "She was a light in so many lives, including mine. And Max, well, Max showed us all what loyalty and love really mean." Several others shared their memories, recounting stories of Lily's kindness and Max's unwavering devotion. One by one, people approached the podium to speak, their voices weaving a tapestry of love and loss that resonated deeply with everyone present. "She gave so much of herself," one of Lily's old teachers said, her voice breaking, "and Max, in his own way, has done the same." As the ceremony continued, Sarah found herself reflecting on how much Max had changed Willow Creek. His simple act of loyalty had inspired the town to become more compassionate, more mindful of the connections they shared with both people and animals. Max, unaware of the attention, seemed content just to be near Lily's grave. Every now and then he lifted his head to glance at the crowd, his soulful eyes capturing the hearts of everyone there. When the speeches ended, Sarah stepped forward, with Max at her side. She had spent months with him during her investigation, and in that time, they had formed an unbreakable bond. "Max has given this town so much," Sarah began, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "Now it's time for us to give back to him. I'd like to offer Max a home for however long he has left. He's earned nothing less than the best care and the deepest love we can give." The crowd murmured their approval, and the Harpers nodded through their tears. "We couldn't imagine anyone better for him," Mrs. Harper said. Sarah adopted Max that very day. She prepared a cozy corner in her home, complete with a plush bed, an assortment of toys, and a bowl engraved with his name. But despite the comfort of his new surroundings, Max's heart remained with Lily. Every morning, Sarah would take Max for a walk to the cemetery, where he would lie by Lily's grave as he had done for years. It became a ritual, one that Sarah honored without question. "I think it's his way of saying good morning," Sarah once joked to Margaret. As weeks turned into months, the cemetery became a place not just of remembrance, but of connection. Families often visited to sit by Lily's grave and pet Max, leaving flowers and letters as tokens of gratitude for the lessons they had learned. Max's presence brought comfort to those grieving their own losses, his quiet loyalty a reminder that love endures, even in the face of absence. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah watched Max settle beside the grave, his body relaxed but his eyes alert. She knelt beside him, resting a hand on his fur. "She's proud of you, you know," Sarah whispered. "You've done everything she ever asked of you." Max let out a soft sigh, his tail wagging faintly. Though Max grew older and slower, his spirit never wavered. Even in his final days, he insisted on his daily visits to Lily's grave, his determination undiminished by time. When Max passed peacefully in his sleep one quiet morning, Sarah buried him beside Lily, fulfilling what felt like an unspoken wish. The headstone was updated to include Max's name, a testament to the bond they had shared. The memorial left a lasting impact on Willow Creek. Inspired by Lily and Max, the town established an annual day of remembrance for both of them. On this day, residents came together to honor not only Lily and Max, but also the love and loyalty that defined their story. The town also launched an initiative to support local shelters, ensuring that animals like Max would always find loving homes. Sarah continued to visit the cemetery, often bringing her rescue dog Harper to sit beside Max and Lily's grave. The site remained a place of quiet reflection, where people came to find peace and remember the enduring power of love. One golden afternoon, Sarah stood before the graves, a soft smile on her face. The sun bathed the headstones in a warm glow, and the gentle rustling of leaves filled the air. In the park's east, fir crisp overcame, waving in the wind. As she turned to leave, she glanced back one last time. In her heart, she knew that the love between Lily and Max hadn't ended. It had simply transformed, living on in the lives they had touched. And in that quiet moment, it was clear. The bond they shared wasn't just a story, it was a legacy. The story of Max and Lily became more than just a tale shared in Willow Creek. It became a symbol of love that transcends boundaries, a reminder of the deep connections that exist between humans and animals. As news of their bond spread beyond the town, people from all walks of life reflected on their relationships with their pets, loved ones, and the fleeting nature of time. For many, Max's devotion was a wake-up call to cherish those closest to them and to express love and gratitude before it was too late. In every corner of Willow Creek, Max and Lily's story became a gentle nudge to live with kindness and to see the world through a lens of compassion. After Max's peaceful passing, Sarah often found herself returning to the cemetery with her dog Harper. The cemetery was quiet as always, but the air felt different, less somber, more filled with a sense of purpose and warmth. The updated headstone now bore both Lily's and Max's names, the inscription simple but profound. Together forever, a bond beyond life. For Sarah, seeing those words was a reminder of how much one life, even a dog's, could impact so many others. She often sat beside the grave, reflecting on how Max's loyalty had brought an entire town closer together and inspired change. The initiative sparked by Max and Lily's story continued to thrive. The local animal shelter reported record-breaking adoptions, and the annual Remembrance Day for Lily and Max became a cherished tradition in Willow Creek. People brought their pets to the event, sharing stories of love and loyalty that mirrored the one that had touched them all. Children read aloud letters they had written to their pets, and others shared how Max's story had inspired them to take better care of their relationships, human and animal alike. At one event, Mrs. Harper spoke to the crowd, her voice steady and full of gratitude. Max reminded us that love doesn't end when someone leaves us. It stays with us, shapes us, and gives us strength. He and Lily taught us all what it means to truly care. The story's impact extended far beyond Willow Creek. Readers of Sarah's article reached out to share their own experiences with loyal pets or loved ones who had passed. One letter from a reader stood out to Sarah. "I lost my wife last year, and I've been struggling to find meaning in her absence. But reading about Max and Lily reminded me that the love we share with those who leave us never really disappears. It lives on in the memories and the lessons they leave behind." This, Sarah realized, was the heart of the story. Max and Lily's love was a bridge between worlds, showing that even in the face of loss, love could endure and transform. The final image of Max lying peacefully by Lily's grave remained etched in the memories of all who had witnessed it. The sight of him resting there during his last days was both heart-wrenching and beautiful, a testament to a dog's unwavering devotion and his fulfillment of a promise made long ago. In the end, Max's life wasn't just about loyalty, it was about the profound connection he had with Lily and the quiet impact he had on the world around him. One golden evening, Sarah stood alone by the graves, watching the sun dip below the horizon. The sky blazed with colors, casting a warm glow over the headstones. She imagined Max lying there, his head resting on Lily's grave, as if to say, "I've done my part." In that moment, everything felt right. Max's mission was complete, his loyalty unbroken, and his love eternal. As Sarah turned to leave, she looked back one last time, her heart full of gratitude. She knew that while Max and Lily's story had ended, their legacy would live on in every heart they had touched. The last rays of sunlight bathed the cemetery in a warm glow, casting long shadows over the grass. In the distance, the headstone of Lily Harper stood tall, with Max's name forever etched beside hers. It was a scene of quiet peace, a reminder that love's reach is infinite. And as the sun set over Willow Creek, the legacy of Max and Lily continued to shine, a beacon of hope, loyalty, and the enduring power of love. Thank you for joining us on this heartfelt journey of loyalty, love, and devotion. Max and Lily's story is a testament to the bonds that connect us, transcending even life and death. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales that celebrate the power of love and the incredible connection between humans and animals. Remember, love is eternal, and it's never too late to show those around you how much they mean to you. Until next time, take care and spread kindness.